gonna be a different year. This is not the place for fear. I've got a job to do.
Hello everyone. Hopefully today we won't have any technical difficulties. So you can see I did get some new camera equipment that will follow me around. So we'll see how well it goes, Piper. On Friday there were some technical difficulties, but we'll see how well it works. Alright, so today guys, I hope you guys all had a very good weekend. I do want to start today. You guys, we're going to make a Unit 1 tab for your notebook, Piper. Alright, you guys all, we set up our notebooks a week or two ago, and we ran out of time. We never set up a tab. You can see my notebook, I have tabs at the top, and it just makes it really easy for me to jump to the different units. So today, I'm going to give you guys a tab. And what you're going to do is you're going to put it right on your title page. So you're going to open up your notebook to your title page, John. Open up to your title page, Piper. And I'm going to come around and I'm going to give you a tab. These are peel and stick. All you're going to do on it, you can see, is I wrote Unit 1. Just going to write Unit 1 on it. And then I lined up my tabs so I can read them from left to right. You can see this route, so I put Unit 1 over here. So that way I can just keep going from left to right with the other units when we get to them. So that's where I would line it up, Justina. I would line up your Unit 1 right on the left-hand side. In fact, I line mine up right along the red line. Okay, so I'm going to come, I'm going to give you a tab. All right, you're going to write Unit 1 on it, and then peel it and put it right in place, just like I've done there, so it sticks up above your notebook. Okay, everybody have their Unit 1 tab in? Yeah. Okay, now, you guys can close your notebooks, because today we're going to start, first, what is the homework? What are we going to be working on tonight if we don't finish it in class? Ruth, the homework?
Chapter 7 reading guide.
Okay, but first you have to make sure that you read. So we're going to read Chapter 7. Can you guys, if you're making noise, just mute yourselves? We're going to read Chapter 7, and we're going to be completing the reading again here in class. And then what you technically is the homework, which is what you guys are going to slowly start to see happen. Okay, we've been doing these all in class, but soon I want to release them to you guys to do at home. And John, it's this one, the second bullet.
Complete the Chapter 7 quiz on Google Classroom.
Very good. All right. This is something that you guys can eventually start doing at home. You don't have to do it in class. All right. We've been doing it in class to make sure everybody knows how to do it, and there's no excuses why you didn't get your quiz done. All right. And you guys proved it. You guys all did a good job getting your Chapter 5 and 6 quizzes done at home. Okay, so today we're going to read that chapter in class, though, and we're going to do the quiz. I'm also going to teach you about this today. Okay. Jane, today we're going to focus on this reading strategy, and can you tell me what is that reading strategy, Jane? Questioning. All right. Now, I've put a resource on Google Classroom, so as I do it up here on the board, you guys, I want you to do it on your computers, Piper. Everyone, go to our Google Classroom. Go to our Google Classroom, and it'll bring it up to the screen. Are you there, Jane? John?
Yeah.
I don't want to go too fast. All right. Underneath the screen, you will see today, Roy Trumbull posted a new material. All right. So this is not an assignment. It's not a quiz. It's a new material. It's something that, especially for the virtual kids, you guys will have it, and we'll have it here, so we all have the same exact notes. So I want you to, this is one way you can get to the material, right through the screen. There's another way you can get to this material, though. John, do you know it?
Yeah.
How? Tell us.
Classwork.
So I can click on classwork, and then
It tells you right there.
I can scroll down. Now, you guys will not have, you see how mine are all grayed out here? I've already been making all of your quizzes and reading guides for the next upcoming chapters.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you look under the classwork, you will see, again, the icon is different. It looks like this, and it says the depth of knowledge and the reading strategy of questioning. You can also click on it here. And here I gave you guys a note. These are notes about the reading strategy of questioning. We will be talking a lot about questions throughout the year. We will be writing many questions. And in order to understand how to write good questions, here are some notes to help you. everyone, open your reading strategy of questioning. This got this page right here. We're going to add this in today, along with the literary elements that you guys are been tracking. Can somebody please read to me the blue paragraph? And I'll pick, how about Justine? Did you want to read out loud the blue paragraph at the top?
I hate needles too.
Would you like to, or would you pass? Okay, go ahead. Read the blue paragraph at the top.
Good readers are actively
Yep.
thinking as they read. Questioning is one strategy we can use to think about a text. So is one way to categorize
Good.
questions. It is called the depth of knowledge, or DOK.
Good. You can keep going and finish that up.
Deeper you can go when you're thinking, the better you will be able to truly understand the text. The depth of knowledge has 4 levels.
Very good. Okay. So we call this your reading strategy questioning. And we put that together with this idea of this depth of knowledge. When we read a book, we can read it at a very surface level, like a level 1, and we can understand what we read. Or we can really start thinking and analyzing and evaluating. We can go deeper and deeper and deeper and get a better understanding. Okay, so let's go through what these levels are. You don't have to write anything down. We're just going to follow along. This is in the Google Classroom. Eventually, we will glue it officially into our notebooks. But I just want you to have it today, Jane, as we move forward with reading. So we need to make sure that we're starting to adopt really good strategies. In previous grades, you guys, I'm sure have learned strategies like predicting. Okay, your teacher reads a story, you guys predict what's going to happen next. That's a reading strategy. Okay, summarizing is a reading strategy. Okay, retelling is a reading strategy. These are all things that good readers will be doing. Okay, they'll be able to have these skills. So today, it's all about questioning. Okay, so Piper, the first level, read it.
Level 1 has only one correct answer, and the answer can be found in the book.
Good. Stop right there. So level 1. The key difference between level 1 and any others is level 1 has just one answer. And where is that answer?
In the book.
In the book. I gave you 2 examples. Okay? What is Freak's mom's name? Raise your hand when you know the answer. All right, Frank. Gwen. That's it. Her name is Gwen, or Guinevere. All right? She may have a lot of other nicknames, but what's her name? Her name is Guinevere. We can't argue and say that her name is Terry, because it's just not. There's one answer, one correct answer. We get same thing. What does Max get out of the tree for Kevin? John?
The mechanical bullet.
The mechanical bird. There's one answer. It wasn't a frisbee. It wasn't a kite. It was a mechanical bird. Okay? There's one answer. That's a level 1. Now, whenever I ask you guys quiz questions, multiple choice, they're all level 1. What I'm doing is I'm asking you guys, did you read and know what was in the text? I'm not asking you to think real deeply about it. I just want to know that you read it and you understood it. The next level is level 2. Level 2, we get a little bit deeper. John, read level 2 for me.
Has an inflation.
Infinite.
Infinite.
Does anybody know what infinite means? Ruth?
Unlimited.
Forever.
Okay. Unlimited, it goes on forever. Meaning, you can't say there's 10 answers, there's 20 answers. For as many people there are on Earth, there's that many answers. It's infinite. It just goes on and on and on. John, start at the beginning then. Has
an infinite number of answers, and it puts you in the book and asks you what you think the characters should do, think, feel, etc.,
etc.
or what you would do, think, feel, etc.
Very good. You can read it right off your screen too.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're doing with level 2 is I'm picking you up and I'm dropping you in the book. I'm kind of putting you in Max's shoes with level 2 questions. And I'm asking you, like, if you were Max, what would you do? Or how would you feel if you were Max? Okay? Or what would you do, Ruth, if that was you? So, look at my examples. The first one says, what do you think Max and Kevin should have done when they had their run-in with Tony D and his gang? Okay? Briefly, tell me, what are your ideas? What should they have done when they had their run-in with Tony D? Ruth?
Not insult him.
Okay, not insult them. Frank?
Well, they should have just ran away.
They could have ran away.
Try to become friends.
Try to become friends. If I kept going, Justina, every single person, you may agree with John that, hey, he should try to become friends. Okay, but for every single person that's out there, there's an answer. There's an infinite number. What matters is how you defend it. Okay, who said they should just run away? So Frank, I would say, why do you say that? What made you think that that's the best course of action? Why should they just run away?
Well, the cops came, and if they were to see that they were like fighting and stuff, they Max could have gotten in trouble.
Okay. Ruth, what did you say for your answer?
Don't insult him. Act kind of like nice, like easy, calm.
Okay, why? Why do you think that that's the best course of action?
You need to act easy and calm because, since Freak called him a cretin, which is, the mentally disabled person.
Cretin is the proper way to say it, but.
And if that cop car hadn't have come, Tony D might have beat them up.
Right. Okay, so see, with level 2, we start talking about our opinions and defending our thinking. There's still no right or wrong answer. Ruth doesn't have the right answer, and Frank doesn't have the right answer. They have their answer. And we're open to discuss those opinions. And in doing so, we have this better understanding of the text, the characters, the situations, and how we think about them. So now, Piper, you can see, I tell you, in level 2, we're talking about the book. We're talking about its characters, the setting, the plot. We're putting ourselves in the book. Scroll down and look at level 3. All right, Frank, welcome to class. Can you read the definition for level 3?
Yeah. Level 3 has an infinite number of answers, and it pulls something that happens in the book and asks you to apply it to your own life.
For example, in the book, Max and Kevin have to deal with a bully. The bully is Tony D. Okay, the whole situation that happened to them on the 4th, I can say, okay, let's pull that event out and let's ask you, Justina, have you ever had an encounter with a bully? And if so, how did you handle it? Does anybody want to answer? I don't want to put all the pressure on you. Have you guys ever had an encounter with a bully? And if so, how do you handle it? Piper?
I did. This girl was like doing something inappropriate, and I told the teacher, and she got mad at me, and she was threatening me, and I just walked away.
Okay. So now listen, in Piper's answer, Piper, did you talk about Max? Did you talk about Kevin? No, not at all. Because in level 3, look, we're no longer talking about the book or the characters. We leave the book behind and we talk about the situations. We can learn from Max and Kevin. All right? We can take what's happening in our own lives and think, how are we connected to these characters? And this really allows us to start thinking very deeply about the book. Because again, now we're not just talking about Max and Kevin and how they dealt with Tony D. We're talking about bullying and how we can deal with bullying in our own lives. So we're really taking what's happening in the book and, John, we're applying it to our own lives now. We've left the book behind. What's important is that you guys are understanding this idea that we're no longer talking about the book. We're talking about ideas in the book, which we only get to in the very last unit. Because level 4 is the deepest level that you can go of understanding of a topic. Who hasn't read yet? Jane, you haven't read yet. Tell us about level 4.
It requires research and additional resources to dig deep into a question.
Very good. Okay. Now, another example of this, level 4 question is this. Can you identify the name of the disease Kevin has, along with describing the symptoms, the diagnosis, the prognosis, and treatment? Okay? Now, in case you guys haven't picked up by now, Kevin does have some kind of disability, has some kind of a disease. All right? We haven't talked about it at all, so I could say to you, Jane, I want you to research Kevin's disease. I want you to find out what the symptoms are. I want you to find out the diagnosis, the prognosis, and the treatment. You would have to go and you would have to find a whole lot of additional resources. You might have to go to the American Medical Journal. You might have to go talk to doctors. You might need to research in encyclopedias and Wikipedia and all these different web sources just to be able to answer this question. And by the time you're done, you've got such a great understanding of the disease that Kevin has. Here's another example. How is Kevin from Freak the Mighty similar to Wahoo from the book Chomp? Wahoo is a character that we're going to read later in the year. All right? You couldn't answer this question, Piper, by just reading Freak the Mighty. What other book do you have to read to answer this question? It's yellow and it's over there on the wall. You'd have to read the book Chomp. Wahoo is the name of a character. That's the main character's name in the book Chomp. So you couldn't answer it just by reading Freak the Mighty. You'd have to pull in both of these texts. So again, that's kind of a level 4 question. And then here's one that you guys could do research on. How does bullying affect the typical American children? We know Max and Kevin are getting bullied. So we can take that. And again, you would have to do a lot of research in order to answer that question. We spend, I think the sweet spot for questions, Justina, is level 2 and 3. Okay? Level 2s and level 3s. And the reason is this. I'm really getting to a point where I'm asking you about what you're thinking. What is your thinking about this? Level 1s, teachers, we're really good at asking level 1s. Who, what, when, where, why, all those things, the details. Okay? But the best place for you guys to be is in level 2 and 3. So today, we are going to read reading, guys. So this resource is here for you. Today, as we read, okay, I'm going to be challenging you guys to be thinking about your own level 2 or 3 question. So I'm going to pass out the graphic organizer. You guys can use the digital graphic organizer, and we're about to start reading. And in addition to the normal things that we focus on, let's talk about the normal things that we focus on. Okay? One of the things that we're going to focus on, Frank, is the setting. Where and when did these events take place? Describe them. Another one we're going to focus on, Ruth, is this one right here. It's the, I call it Ruth. Characters. What is happening with our characters? What do we know about Max? What do we know about Kevin? Also, what's happening with them? Okay, we can write down exactly what's happening with these guys. We can also write down inferences we're making about them. Anything that we're learning about these characters. Okay? Jane, another literary element we're going to focus on is the plot. What's happening? So this is where I like to use bullets. Okay? And I would just put a bullet down and I'd write the event down and then I'd write another bullet. And that way by the end of the chapter, you should have a good maybe 4 or 5 bullets or maybe even more down of all the sequence of events that happened in that chapter. All right, and we just introduced this one last week. John, it is this literary element of conflict. Conflict, if you watched the video or you joined the live stream, you know. Okay, conflicts are often easiest to identify man versus man. I can see, if John and Ruth have a conflict, people have conflicts with each other. Okay? Max and Kevin had a conflict with who at the fireworks? Piper? Tony D. So conflicts, those are ones that are really easy to see. But conflicts can also be between people and nature. Let's say I was on a boat in the middle of a storm in the Atlantic Ocean and the waves were getting really big. I'm in conflict, but I'm not in conflict with another person. I'm in conflict with nature. Right? Conflicts can also be with a whole group. So Jane, we have this other kind of conflict where it's called man versus society. All right? And so you could be in conflict with the rules of a group of people. Let's say, for example, you don't like to wear a mask. Let's say you don't like to wear it. And we all came into school today, we all have a mask on. But let's say you want to go to your favorite ice cream parlor and get ice cream after school. And you're just tired of wearing a mask, you don't want to wear a mask, and you go in and that people at the ice cream parlor say, nope, you can't get in here, you need to get out of here, you don't have your mask on. You're in conflict. You're in conflict with what specifically? The rules of society. Right now, we have said in order to be out in public, you need to be 6 feet apart from people. You need to be wearing your mask. These are things you need to do. If you don't like to do that and you refuse to do it, you have a conflict. That conflict is just called man versus society. And then the last one, conflict, is man versus yourself. Do you know that you can be in conflict with yourself? If you ever have bad thoughts or feelings about yourself, you're in conflict. It's called man versus self, and you're in conflict with yourself. Like Max. How does Max feel on chapter 1? He opens the book with the words, "I never had a brain until Freak came along."
He feels like he's dumb.
He feels dumb. That's a conflict. Max opens up by expressing and revealing this conflict immediately with himself. He says, "Look guys, I feel dumb." Is that a good feeling to have about yourself? No. So we want to feel good about ourselves. So he's in conflict with himself right from the start. So along with each one of these things, we are now, Justina, I'm going to be asking you guys to be thinking about writing your own questions. Okay? Your own questions. Using the notes that I just gave you about the depth of knowledge and this reading strategy of questioning. So coming in here, looking at trying to write your own level 2 or level 3 question. Level 2 is easier to write, I'm going to tell you that right now. Basically, think about this. If you were Max, and then finish that sentence. Alright? It's one way to very easily pick people up, Piper, and put them in a book, right? If I said, Piper, you have to write a level 2 question. Say, okay, Mr. Trumbull, if you were Max, what would you have done when Freak was struggling with the ornithopter? You put me right in the book. Alright? So you guys, I want you guys to try to write your own level 2. Alright? And you could possibly write your own level 3 question. Alright, I'm going to pass out the graphic organizers, and then we're going to start reading. We have just enough time to get all of the reading in. Piper.
It's about the questions. Can we do both?
Yeah, you can do as many as you want. You can see in the homework, I wrote, use KidBlog and write your own level 2 or 3 question. Then answer at least 2 of your classmates' questions. You may write more than one, and you may answer as many questions as you like. Okay? Alright, so here's your graph organizer. Where could you write the questions? You could write it in the margin, you could write it at the bottom, you could write it on the back. I just didn't add it on here yet because I ran out of time to get everything done that I needed to get done. Okay, so when you think of a question, you could simply add it onto the back or in the margin. Okay, so guys, we are going to pick things up today on chapter 7. So, everyone take out your books.
Page 34.
Page 34. Yes,
Do
Piper.
we have bookmarks? Like
Yeah.
we did the third grade?
Yes. And this is another thing that we've been doing, so we can really kind of understand. We've been doing this, the one sentence summary. So we're about to read chapter 7. So Frank, I'm going to start with you. You're going to be chapter 1. Tell us what happened in chapter 1. And you can just go right off the board.
We meet Max and Kevin.
Good. So we meet our characters. We start to get to know our characters. We meet Max and Kevin. Ruth, chapter 2.
Kevin moves onto Max's street.
Good, and that's what happens in the entire chapter. There's lots of details about that event, but very simply, Kevin just moves on to Max's street in that chapter. Piper, chapter 3, what's it all about?
Max helps Kevin and they start.
The whole part of chapter 3 is basically in the backyard. I call it the ornithopter scene, where Max helps Kevin. All right, John, take chapter 4.
Kevin goes to Max's house and tells him all about King Arthur.
Very good. Did I catch everyone with the bookmarks?
Yes.
Okay. So you see this whole chapter, it's just these guys getting together for the first time and starting their friendship. And who did I call on? Justina, chapter 6. Oh no, sorry, I skipped chapter 5.
Yeah. Max goes to dinner at Freak/Kevin's house and finds happiness in simply having a friend/family to be with.
Very good. Yeah, I misspoke before. So chapter 4 was Kevin going over to Max's. Chapter 5, Max goes to Kevin's for dinner. And then the last chapter, guys, chapter 6, which we read on Friday, was the 4th of July. Max and Kevin go down to the fireworks on the 4th, and they have a run-in with Tony D. And that's where we pick up. So chapter 7, open up to chapter 7. Open, have your graphic organizers out in front of you. And we have, all right, good, we have 15 minutes to read. So we'll get all the reading done. You guys will probably need to finish the quiz for our homework. So chapter 7. Page 34. Walking high above the world. You ever notice how the smell of gunpowder makes you thirsty? Because after the fireworks, I'm aiming us for where the food carts are parked along the street, thinking about an ice-cold lemonade, how clean it will taste. And for a moment, I almost forget that Freak is riding on my shoulders. Amazing perspective up here, he is saying. This is what you see all the time? I'm not that big, I say. This way, you're like 2 feet taller than me. Cool, he says. I love it. We're working our way through the crowd. So first of all, this chapter picks up, what is the setting?
Mill pond.
Mill pond. Okay, we're still down at the mill pond, and that's the where. When are we? Starting off.
July.
But when specifically?
After the fireworks.
Thank you. This is after the fireworks. Because the whole last chapter was like, wait a minute, I was at the fireworks in the last chapter. This chapter starts off right after the fireworks. This chapter picks up immediately right after the fireworks are over. Now, we know settings can change. So if the setting changes, we can just add it to it. But we know the beginning, okay, we're still down at the mill pond, and it's right after the fireworks. We're working our way through the crowd, and we're almost to the food carts when Freak tugs on my hair. Cretin at 2 o'clock, he says, real urgent. 2 more at 3 o'clock. I go, huh? What? The Blade and his gang, Freak hisses. They're locked on to us. Their trajectory is converging. Go to the left, he says. Make it quick if you want to live. Too bad I'm a little confused about rights and lefts. If I don't think about it, I know. But if I have to think about it quick, my mind goes blank. Right, left, what does it all mean? Left, Freak says. And he kicks me with his little foot, like he's digging into a horse, and it clicks in my head. Go that way. Follow the feet. Faster, Freak is saying. And he's urging me on. It's like, it's lucky for me that the little dude doesn't have any spurs. But I don't care. I just want to get clear of Blade. Warp Factor 9, Freak is shouting. More speed, oh mighty beast. Now, I'm running at full gallop. Now again, in this situation, Max is like the what? He's galloping. He's like the horse. And Freak is like the what on top?
The rider.
The rider. But in his brain, what kind of a rider is he? A rider that might wear armor. What kind of armor?
A knight.
A knight. Think about what he loves. He loves King Arthur. He loves robots. In Kevin's mind, he's on his steed. He's riding his horse, and they're galloping away. He's a knight fleeing from dragons and demons and beasts that want to catch him. Warp Factor 9. See, he's bringing in Star Trek and Knights and King Arthur all into one. Freak is shouting, more speed, oh mighty beast. Now I'm running at full gallop, weaving through the crowd, and I don't even need to look back. All I have to do is follow the way Freak is kicking his feet, steering me. I'm pretty sure we're getting away until this punk comes out of nowhere. He's one of Blade's gang, and he's got this big, ugly grin. Now, what is continuing right here? I'm thinking about the bottom right corner on your graphic organizer. What's happening here, John?
That they're running away from Blade and his gang, and then more people showed up.
Yeah. So the conflict between Max and Kevin and Tony D and his gang has continued. It started before the fireworks, and it's continuing now. So right now, Max and Kevin are being chased by Tony D and his gang. Over here, Tony! Got him cornered! What do? I say to Freak. He goes, I'm thinking. I can hear Blade before I can see him. Hear his wicked laugh, so mean and dirty, it makes my stomach freeze up and my knees feel squishy. You, the Freak! You and that giant retard! I'll cut you down to size! Dice and slice, baby! Freak show time! Now, just for the record, I hate reading that word. The R word. Yeah. Just for the record. It's a word that when this book was written, I think was probably more accepted. But now we've really come to know that word, it's as vile, it's as ugly as any other word that you might use to call someone a name. So it's a name that I don't like to use. But that's what this gang is using to call freaking Max in this situation. All right. I just hate that word. And now I can see him. See that pointed white grin in his eyes, so dark and cruel. And page 36. He's swaggering through the crowd. He's got us surrounded with punks everywhere. I turn. There's another mean face trying to look as tough as Tony D. In a small voice, I say, tell me what to do. And Freak pats me on the shoulder and says, just give me a nanosecond to process the alternatives. Slice and dice! That's Blade, and he's reaching into his back pocket. Make it quick, I hiss. And then Freak is kicking my right shoulder. And I turn that way, and he's saying, go, go, go! And I run right over his punk, and I run right over this punk. He's so surprised he loses his bubblegum, and he tries to grab my leg, but I kick free. And I'm running right and then left, running blind and just letting Freak decide which way we should go. Because he must have a plan, a dude as smart as that. Which I'm about right. He does have a plan. Alright, I'm going to stop right there. Because you guys, this is a really good time to ask a level 2 question. On the back of your paper or in the margin, I want you to think about this idea of putting us in the book. You might start your question with words like, if you were Max, or if you were Kevin. And think about my example with level 2s. Okay? We're asking, what do you think the characters should do, think, feel? What would you do, think, or feel? Right? If you were Max, how would you feel being chased down by Tony D? Or, if you were Freak, what would you do? Be specific with your question. Because I can't just say, if you were Max, what would you do? It needs to be, if you were Max and you were being chased by Tony D, what would you do? I don't want to push you guys and give you too many hints, so I'm going to shut my mouth for 30 seconds and let you guys finish your questions. And you're going to use your questions that you guys write to post them up on the Kid Blog. Make sure you guys use capitals and periods. So we're not going to ask the questions out loud in here in class. You guys are going to ask your questions. They're going to ask your questions. And then you guys can answer each other's. All right? All online. Okay. I'm going to keep reading because I want to get through this chapter. God bless you. I saw you. You were about to sneeze. Alright, I'm on the middle bottom of page 36. Which I'm about right. He does have a plan. Only the plan is to run out into the smelly mill pond and drown us both. Go on, he's shouting from up above me, up above my head. Trust me, we'll be okay.
Blade is shouting too, and I can hear his feet pitter-pattering behind me, catching up. Warp speed, Freak is shouting, and he's kicking with both feet now, which means go straight, head for the H2O. The pond is right ahead of me, and I'm sort of running along the edge, crunching over the bottles and cans and candy wrappers. And then I hear this zingy sound. And I just know that Blade is swinging a knife, cut in the air right behind us. And there's nowhere to go but into the pond, like Freak wants me to. I almost lose it right there, taking that first step, because it's a gunky pond, and the mud is really oozy and deep, and it sucks right up to my knees. But I'm so scared of getting cut by Tony D, so scared he might bite me with those wicked teeth. I just keep going. There's this great ugly sucking sound as my feet come back up out of the mud, and I stretch out as far as my legs will go, and I take another step, and I just keep going. I'm going so fast that the water is up to my chest before Freak gets my attention. He's tugging at my hair with both hands. Whoa, he's saying, slow up, we did it. The mud is up around my knees, and it's real hard to turn around. Finally, I get so I'm facing back to the shore, and there's Blade, just his head above the water. And he looks all white and scared. Help! He's blubbering, choking on that dirty water. And then his punksters are splashing in to rescue him. Man, they can hardly get him loose. The way he's stuck deep in the mud, and before they drag him to shore, they're all covered with slime and mud. They're gasping like fish, almost too tired to cuss us out. But that doesn't last. Blade is covered with mud right up to his neck, which on him looks natural. He turns to his gang, page 38, who look as slimy as he does. Get some rocks! It's target practice time! What do we do now? I ask, because the mud is still sucking me down. It's over my knees now, and the water is right up under my arms, and even Freak's feet are getting wet. Wait, Freak says, the cavalry is coming. Can't you hear that? Can't you hear that bugle? I'm listening, but I can't hear anything except for Blade and his gang, and now they're scrambling around trying to find some rocks to heave at us. I can see Blade rearing back to throw, and the first one misses us. Can you move? Freak says. I don't think so. It's true. The mud is up over my knees, and I'm locked in place. I can't even fall down. That's how stiff it is. I'm like a big fence post, and everybody knows a fence post makes a good target. More splashes as the rocks fall short. At first, they're throwing stuff that's too heavy. Pretty soon, they smarten up, and Blade says, smaller rocks! Get me smaller rocks! And I know in my heart we're doomed. Then, up above me, there's this really loud, high-pitched screech. Freak has his fingers in his mouth, and he's whistling, real shrill and shivery, and so loud it almost hurts my ears. And then I see what Freak has been seeing all along. A cop car cruising real slow along the road around the pond, which is what they always do after the fireworks. Frank is whistling, and the cop car spotlight comes beaming around the pond until it settles on us. I'm blinking because the light is so bright, and Freak is making a fuss and waving his arms, and we hear the metal megaphone sound of a cop voice ordering us not to move, like we could if we wanted. It's hard to see in the glare of the spotlight, but Freak tells me that Blade and his punks are running away, like snakes on sneakers, Freak says. Officers! Freak is shouting into the white light. We request assistance! They finally have to use ropes to pull me out of there. Freak won't let me go. He stays right where he is on top of my shoulders, even when this cop in the boat tries to lift him off. And then we're up on the bank of the pond, and everybody is being real nice and giving us blankets and cokes and saying they know all about Tony D and they'll keep an eye on him. Don't you worry. Okay, boys, you'd better give us your names, and we'll call your mothers. this one cop is saying. And there's this other guy who is looking at me funny, and he says, "Hey, isn't that Kenny Kane's boy? Must be. Old Killer Kane. Is he still inside?" Frank is still holding tight to my shoulders. And when they asked him for his name, he says, "We're Freak the Mighty. That's who we are. We're 9 feet tall, in case you haven't noticed." And that's how it started, really. How we got to be Freak the Mighty, slaying dragons and fools, and walking high above the world. Now, there's 2 things to note here, and I'm running late. 1, we just learned something huge about Max's dad and why he's in prison. Jane, what do we learn about his dad and why he's in prison?
Because he's killed people.
He's killed someone. His nickname is Old Killer Kane. Now, maybe that's an ironic nickname. Maybe he really hasn't killed anyone, but his nickname is Old Killer Kane. So we could safely probably make the inference that whatever his dad did included murder of some kind. He killed someone. And then the other big thing that happened here is, what does Freak say when the cops ask for his name? He doesn't answer, "I am Max," or he doesn't say, "I'm Kevin and this is Max." What do they say? What does he say, Justina? We're Freak the Mighty. And guys, tomorrow I want to spend more time diving into this, but I want you to think about a knight and what happens to a knight when they get knighted. If you become knighted, John, you're no longer Jonathan. You're now Jonathan the Brave, or Jonathan the Wise, or Jonathan the Loyal. When the cop asks for their names, he doesn't say, "I'm Freak," or "This is Max and I'm Kevin." He says, "We're Freak the Mighty." And it's this idea that I want to spend time, I guess, talking with you guys more about tomorrow because we're out of time. All right? This change in the way these guys see each other, okay, when they're together. All right. So, guys, unfortunately, I do have to cut it there. We're going to come back to the name of Freak the Mighty and talk about it tomorrow and the end of this chapter. Everyone right now, online and in class, okay, you guys are going to have to do it for homework. You guys can do it whenever. Your assignment, take the quiz. All right, you guys know exactly where the quiz is. I'm running way behind. Right underneath the classwork, though, Freak the Mighty, the reading guide, and then make sure you guys all take the quiz. All right, and then I challenge each of you to put your questions up on KidBlog so we can spend more time than just the 42 minutes we have in class to talk about these things. All right, bye, guys.